So good afternoon and maybe good morning or good evening, depending on where you are joining us from. Today we have another interesting session. It's one of those sessions that I say people should not just constrain themselves to what they know, but open up to what's new, what's happening that is probably out of their normal day-to-day work activities within the analytics space. And today we've got an MVPK Sauter, all the way from Switzerland, and he's been here for almost 16, 18 minutes now, and he's going to take us on a very in, interesting and also eye-opening journey into using Fabric. So I'm not going to take too much time repeating what he's going to do and eating from his own time that he's going to spend to explain to us. Just to mention that this session is brought to you by your BizEdge and MHS Analytics. Your BizEdge is a Microsoft Excel, Power BI, financial modeling, and SQL training consulting company. We're based in Nigeria. So if you need any training, you can reach out to us. We've got an elements that I will share the link where you can access some free and maybe some paid resources, but there are a lot of free resources for you to leverage. And MHS Analytics is our Canadian entity, same services, but servicing the North American market. And so now we've come to the main reason we're all here. So already Kay is in, and he's been working with SQL Server for a very long time. I think even before 2013, when I read through his profile, maybe we didn't write this part well, but he's someone who is also a Microsoft Data Platform MVP. He blogs on kondata.com. I think you should read his blog. He's got a very good sense of humor. I saw the one he wrote about Fabric OneDrive, and it was like, I know you read OneDrive. I meant OneLake, but it's deliberate, because OneLake, OneDrive, especially when you install them on Windows, they kind of look very similar. So he's got a very good sense of humor, and he's got a very nice way of explaining things. He's someone who is a veteran at these conferences and community leading and speaking. So we're going to also benefit from that. I'm going to share his LinkedIn connection link in the chat so that you can connect with him. I'll also share his blog link. But right now I'm going to hand over to Kay so that he takes over the session. So Kay, over to you. I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Thank you so much for having me, and thanks so much for your kind words, very kind words, I have to say. Let me share a screen quickly.
Perfect.
Okay, I guess you should see my screen now.
Yes. Yes, it
Okay,
is.
great.
Thank you.
So welcome to my talk, Querying in Fabric, Similarities and Differences to SQL Server. So we are going to see what kind of differences we have in Fabric, what kind of possibilities we have in Fabric. And firstly, I want to introduce myself a bit first. It's my name is Kai Sauter, K Sauter in English. Most English people call me K, which is totally fine. This is my native language is Kai, so it's German, so it's something like this. I'm a senior BI developer at a company for real estate management. Like I said, a blog on data.com. I founded some communities like Data TGIF, which is a virtual Azure data user group. That happens every third Friday in a month at 5 o'clock in Zurich time. I think it's 1 hour difference. I think you are 1 hour behind me, so it's for you it will be 4 o'clock. I am also the founder of the co-organizer of databash.live, which is basically an online conference that is going to happen in October 9. I'm also organizer of another conference that's going to happen a week later, but it's an in-person conference. I'm also one of the leaders of the data platform virtual group for DEI, so diversity, equity, and inclusion. So just a forward to Microsoft Teams. If you don't see something clearly, you have the possibility to move in to zoom in Microsoft Teams with a control mouse wheel, or you can have also on the bottom left have a zooming possibility. So as an agenda, it's how you can start to own. I want just to have some few words on this and the basic before we proceed. I will explain you what kind of data types actually exist. Just a few. I don't want to bore you in all the technical details, but just highly overview that actually most of them are pretty similar. And then let's see some code. So let's start the exact example that I'm going to present to you, then probably the best starting point you have is to go to HTTPS Microsoft getting started. This is the first one. I don't know if you can see now. You should see my pointer here. So this is how you can get started, and you can also sign up for a Fabric trial, which is for free for 60 days. So if you purchase later, if you do decide to purchase, you can go with pay-as-you-go purchase. That means you only use the capacity you chose, and you also can go up and down. But if you switch it off or delete it, then you don't pay anymore. So you only pay for it as long as you use it. This is pay as you go. But if you have a reservation, then you have at least 1 year reservation, but it also comes with a discount. You basically can imagine it a bit like a hosting service. If you have a website hosting, usually you also sign up for 1 year. It's basically exactly the same with Fabric or anything else in Azure. So you have basically a reservation for this capacity you reserve for yourself, but you can't just switch up and down if you have this. But you have basically just a reservation for this then and pay just for this one for 1 year. For this, what we have here to load the holidays data, you need about FA capacity. That's what I used to test it, and later on you can have a cheaper one for F4 in case you are not using the trial one. So if you already paying something but you still want to try something, then I recommend you to use usually the F4, which is relatively cheap. It's always in the eye of the beholder what is cheap or not, but this is one of the cheapest offers that Microsoft offers for Fabric. So use that sample database within Fabric. There is actually the possibility to can have a sample. You will pretty much stumble over it very quickly to see what kind of samples. And in the data engineering part, you will have, if you choose the button holiday a sample, then you get a holiday sample. You will see it later on. So let's talk quickly about the lakehouse. Just to understand what a lakehouse is. Also on opposite to a SQL Server database, right? I assume that everyone knows what a SQL Server is, but the lakehouse is basically a specialized type of data lake, right? So you have basically a space for files, and it could be any file in theory, basically. So the data lake means you can have any media, you can have text, you could have audio, you could have video, you could have pictures. This is basically what you could have for a data lake. But if you want to have strictly more for data, then you have basically for the data a special structure. So you have something like a database. You will see this later a bit. I will show you, point it out again, but just keep in mind you have files, different files in a structure, in a special structure. So you have basically something like a database. So what are the differences between Fabric and SQL Server? Um, SQL Server is not really compatible with Fabric because there are some key differences. Also, it's the architecture of this, like I said before, is very different. We have with SQL Server, we have really a database that has a few files. In those files, basically, or is the database. So we have a very structured format and a way for this in Fabric. In a lakehouse, you don't really have this. You have a semi-structured thing, basically. We have the possibility to use Spark SQL, which is basically the flavor of SQL language structures query, search query language, sorry, search query language by Spark, Apache Spark. So Apache Spark is open source and they have a bit different view of SQL. Is actually ANSI start standard mostly. So we have a T-SQL is not really standard compatible because it's a dialect by Microsoft. It has some additional features into the language. It's mostly actually ANSI standard because it's very close to it. But it's not everything. It's actually really a known language, T-SQL. So it's close to ANSI standard, but it's not ANSI standard. So just to talk about the data types like before, I just want to have a quick overview because I don't want to go to the boring technical details, but we will see it also a bit later what it actually really means. What we see, for example, we have in T-SQL, that's for SQL Server, we have a Apache Spark here. We just have a string, basically. We have a jar and varchar. Varchar, for example, is pretty much the most commonly used string data type in SQL Server, because if you define, let's say, varchar 50 for a name you have, then if you have a short name like I do with Kai, for example, then you don't use the whole space, the saving space of 50 jars, but they actually just use the three letters for it. So you have it's more efficient to store your data, basically. So in other words, varchar also tells you it's up to 50 characters you can have. So there is a limit, but it's not a limit really down to it. You could also have zero jars. It's also possible to have. It's not null, by the way. It's just means it's an empty string. That's something different. So null, for example, is in SQL Server is also Apache Spark is something that is not decided. So there's no data at all in. So it's not to be confused with an empty string, right? So what is we see here is relatively similar. We have just a bit more options in T-SQL. We have options for the encodings. We have some similar variants. We also have a variant for the varchar length. If a fixed length is actually we also have this varchar type. We have the jar types. So it's not too far for it, but some differences are already here. taggers. Here, actually, I when I really started to do this and to make this table, I was expecting to have much more differences. But as you can see, actually, the only difference is tiny int to that's a Python tiny. It also has tiny int, but it's a bit different from how SQL Server actually defines it. Decimals is a bit like similar actually. I did here a mistake, but it's the float and real is actually just be careful if you use in SQL Server or float and real because they are actually make data types. Be careful with that. If you use them, then be sure that you know what you're doing. Because if you do calculations with approximate data types, then you can actually get other you can get other results than you may expect because it's only approximations in decimals. Um, Batch also has something like this. I'm not 100% sure what it means. It was just from the documentation that I got from here, but I'm suspecting it's actually something similar to. I also wanted to point out here what we have is decimal deck and numeric. So actually it bases on Java math. So because Bash Spark underneath is mostly Java, so it's something that you have to keep in mind. Does the data types actually infer from that? So data type is also something like this that we have basically a date range. I forgot to do this, but we have a date range in SQL Server. Basically, what we have is we can go to back in history, but we have to define it special. Basically, in date we also have something like this here. But we also have timestamps with, and SQL Server also has actually something like this. That we have timestamps possibilities, but it's actually constructed a bit different in SQL Server than here. So we have really timestamp LTZ is something like this. We have local time and without a time zone. So you have to make sure that you also have time zones in your mind. This is actually the same in SQL Server. If you define, for example, something with UTC, which is universal time, which means it's actually just the technical time with no time zone, but also no um, time changes for like summer and winter. For example, in Switzerland, we have something like summertime and winter time. That means every year when we have summer, we will actually subtract. Add 1 hour to it, so we have a bit more daylight saving time. Basically, is how it's called. It's just to have a bit more this, but we are going to abolish this basically in a few years with the European Union as well, because they discuss it not to have this anymore because it doesn't really make sense. So yeah. So I guess let's go to the live demo, and after this we will have a raffle. Actually, we have of the courtesy of Pact the possibility to give away two ebooks of Microsoft Fabric, learn Microsoft Fabric actually of by the Pact. Pact is the publisher, and I was actually the technical reviewer for this book. The co-authors were Ashad Ali and um, I have to check it. I will show you the book in afterwards. So it's his name doesn't cross my mind now. put it into the chat so you can get this here as well. Yeah, Bradley Schlacht, exactly. So just so. So if you have a question here, you can always ask me the questions in the chat. I'm monitoring the chat. So it's so this book is going to be a raffle, so I can give away 2 books. So let's go to demo. I will change the screen now to my browser. I hope you can see my screen. Great.
Yes.
Great. So what we have here, we have here a lakehouse. This is Excel analysis community. This is a lakeout I created with the public holidays example here. So what we are going to do is a simple some queries to see what are the differences, and I will explain you what is also the difference to SQL Server. What we have here, in the SQL, the code what we are going to select here would be looking like this. So select top 10 from Excel community public holidays. This is table public holidays. In Spark, it's a bit done a bit different. We have the top 10. We have as a limit in the end. Then we have in PySpark, that is actually in Python, what we are doing this year with the display as a data frame. So DF stands for data frame. So what we have here, if I run this, I just started this space with this start here. It takes a bit longer now because it's still starting the engine first for the first time now. So what we see here, we see just basically the holidays of many nations, how they are like, what date we have, and we have, for example, for Australia, until to Canada, the holidays name is for all here is US day, for example. So we have something like this in this database. But if you want to do this now, if you notice this, I've put this in one line here. We can't do it just like this in with line breaks. We have to do this with those apostrophes 3 times basically. Then we can have something like this. So it's very similar, like we would have here. Select top 10. How perhaps most of us are used to, if you are using SQL Server database or another database, then we have something like this. So select, this is also possible. Just display a data frame and run like this. And we actually did not use the extended name. The extended community name is actually something like the name of the lake house is this, but there's a table. This is also possible. As long we actually added the table with this to lake house, we added it. So it's basically the notebook knows we are referring to this. So we have this output again here. So Spark again also has basically what we did here is we used PySpark, so Python here, but you also can see it here. We have Python. We could also use Spark Scala, which is a functional language. We have Spark SQL. We have Spark R. We have the possibility to use a data wrangle here as well, but I'm not going to do this because we have only the data frame here. So we later on we also can see all the data frames and see what we actually have. So we also have the possibility to add the code to the pipeline. We have also the possibility to use this in VS Code, which is a very good editor which you can get for free. It's open source. I'm not sure if it's open source, but it's for free by Microsoft. Yeah. So what we have is here with SQL again. If you want to start with just with SQL, then we have to use the magic hint. Basically, the magic command is actually called the magic command with two percent signs and then SQL, and then we can just select it like this, and we can get the same result again. Takes a while because I think I'm using here F4, so the capacity F4 I told you before. So if you work with data, also if you want to manage data, like to load data into a table, then you need to know what kind of data types you have. And for this, we also have some possibilities to see what kind of if you see, for example, here now you have some the public holidays. We want to have it as a string here, just as a example that we can see later how actually normally any data looks like. As soon as you put any CSV into Lakehouse, everything usually is actually a string. So what we do here is we can see here we have a string date. We have it's now string. What we can see also is we have a date here. So we can see this is again a string. We have 01 is just saying that actually is either 01 and so on. So we also see here immediately what kind of data types we are using that we have. So if you are going to do the back basically from string to again to date, then we can do this here with date format here pretty easy and say we want to use the date and also explain what kind of data type we want, year, month, and day, something like this. So what we here again have, again, this is a string date. So what to remember this also in SQL Server, we also would have to do this. Yeah, and the syntax is actually very similar. It's different. We would use a cast function here, but we have here a date format function. So what we will do in SQL Server is actually just with a cast function. We actually can do this. Now this was done with Spark by Spark, and here I did it actually with SQL. If you haven't noticed this, so you can actually do both ways. You can actually really use both. Languages or any languages from those from Scala, so SQL, or whatever you prefer. So you have the possibility to just use them. I'm just going to focus on SQL and Python because they are usually the most used languages generally. And personally, I prefer SQL and Python best. So I personally actually don't know much Scala. I know R a bit. I used to work with R, but more in for statistical analysis. So, so what we also can do is CT. If you don't know what a CT is a common table expression is it called. It's so it's we have here is you basically define first a view, if you want to say so, and name it, give it a name. Here I named it to CTE for common table expression. So we have just I select everything and casted it here. Also, you can also do a cast here. Uh, Very similar to SQL Server actually. A data string as a state, and then select to the state. So what it does here is basically exactly the same here, like here in PySpark, so in Python. Here I'm going to do it the same thing actually with the with SQL. So this is pretty much uh, very close to what I would do in SQL Server. So we see here again, we have a string date, new date, actually exactly like as before. We have this here and we have this here again. Any questions so far to this? No. Okay. But
Okay.
another concept that we have
I
in SQL.
okay.
Sure.
So yes, I had a question. I was planning to type it, but then when you said any question, maybe I'll just ask it. So it seems like all the usual types of queries, like now I can see there's the city in. You've also shown cast. So it seems like the Spark SQL kind of has everything we will use day to day in entire, at least in the querying side. I don't know too much about the data control side, DCL and other things, but in the data manipulation side of SQL, it seems to have everything. Is that so?
Uh, I'm not sure what you were asking. Sorry.
So I was saying that your ability to use the common table expressions within the Spark SQL and also do casting, do most of all the common things we do day to day with the regular relational DB SQL, T-SQL. So my question is, do you think like all those common querying and interrogating the data that we do as like a data manipulation language stuff are completely in Spark and SQL? Do you think everything is in
Yeah,
Spark?
Spark SQL is just is another language, and you have a lot of possibilities. It's actually a programming language. Python, PySpark, right? Python is a very powerful general purpose language. Basically, you can actually use it for pretty much anything. And in the last 8 years, it's actually Python has become the language for data engineers. But sometimes SQL is still very easy to query for. It's very easy to use. It's very quick because, as you can see, if you have a PySpark, for example, then you have to sometimes you have to load another library. Like here, we have an import data format. We have something like this, and here in SQL we don't have to do this, but we have with SQL with the common table expression. If you want to, if you have basically a virtual view, you can imagine it like a virtual view basically that you want to use and infer it again. Basically, what we do is here, for example, is really common. So we reuse this, but then we have another this here. So you can actually really use both, use both also for data engineering, but sometimes Python is easier and faster to use. Does this answer your question?
Yes, yes. Thanks.
So next is we also have the possibility of temporary table. So in SQL Server, if you have a temporary table, you can also basically just have a table that you want to have read as a table. You even could do index on it, so it's to order it faster to make stuff faster to it. Um, And in SQL, in Fabric, you also have this. In Fabric, you have the possibility to create or replace a temporary view. How's it called? This is actually something like a temp table. We also can cast a string like this. If I run it, then we have this here again. Select date, and we have it here again. So basically, what we do here is again something like this that we had before, but it is a different way to do this. So we use the same way, the same thing could be solved actually with a common type expression, or it could be solved with a temporary view temp table basically. So we can use this again. The advantage of a temporary temporary table is that you can really use the table again and again for many other queries, for many other tasks you might have, which you don't really have in a common table expression. So actually, you can, if you use it more than once, for example, if I would use the select CT again, for example, then I would run the same query again. So what you do is you have the same query again, again, again. So this actually can be expensive, especially if you do it more than 3 times. So it's usually we say usually do not you should not do it more than 3 times. If you do it more than 3 times, then actually, if you even do it 2 times, then it can be that it's better to use a temp table, because then you have to really persisted your data you want to query to. So I just wanted to show you some concepts that we have with the data types. So this is actually, if I select 10 int, we get the 120. But if you want to have a small int, which is actually too big here, then we get something like this. It's no, this is still correct. This is the maximum number. Actually, this is also possibility. But if you go over this, for example, then we get something like this. So we can get strange data. So we have to keep in mind that we have special sized cells table. If you have a table that, for example, has we're going to see it later with just for a small int, then we have to take care of that. And now I'm going to create a table, so we will see that actually this has an impact if you really do it. I mean, this is something we can see and play around. But if you in the real world, if you want to add some data now into the table, we have a table here now. I just created it. If I refresh this, we have table members here. We see how it has. You already see here it has basically age, ID, and this name. This is exactly what we have here. If I show this, and this is actually those tables. Keep in mind, remember I told you those are actually files. So each table we see are actually Pocket files. So something that we actually also can see in the backend. I can show you that later as well. So we have here ID, name, and age, just with the create table members, ID int, name string, age tiny int. So it's pretty straightforward. So we have just to tell into SQL. Actually, very similar as well in SQL Server. We have almost the same statement for this actually. So we have here, if you want to insert some data to it, which I do now. I just put in Hakim with this. So this Hakim is 30 years old, for example, so as a name. It describes data namers. This is also something that is actually a very good thing that actually Fabric has, Spark has. I can get also the data structure of it it can explain to me here we have an ID, we have an integer, no commenting. This is null, so there's nothing written in. I could also give some comments to each column names to it. So we also have this possibility. It's very similar to also in PySpark. We also have in PySpark we can, for example, get explained, also get the structure of a data frame as well. I think there's also an example for this later. So another thing of here I'm getting into this the point, why is this important? Now we have this is bigger than tinyint, because the tinyint, I think we have said it's like 256 is the highest numbers you can put in, but if we put in now 260, which is too big. If you go into the output, then we'll see we get an error, because actually it tells us I didn't want to have the log actually. I want to show output exactly. So here's the output. Here it says basically, yeah, we have just a wrong data here. Cast overflow in table insert, fail to insert value into table because the column age to an overflow. So we have basically a number that is too big for tinyint. So this is why this is quite important. It's actually just also in the mindset we have to you have to remember 50 years ago in the 1970s when we first actually built databases. Storage was expensive, so basically what they and also CPU was expensive, of course. So what they did is to minimize the data as short as possible. So it's this mindset is still exists today, because if you have, of course, a lot of data with billions of rows of data, then it also has an impact for you to query data. Yeah. And store data, of course. So it does make sense to do this. So we already did this. So I forgot to those double dashes or comments. That means they will not get interpreted by the compiler. They will not get used by if I run it. So that's why we have it. So I'll just run it again. So here now we insert those data. So we have some data to use. In the end, I'm also displaying the data. So we have now some data for it. We see we have IDs. I can also sort it, I think. Exactly. So we have this here and in joins. Now, what I also wanted to show you quickly is that we have also the possibility to use joins in data frames. So we now get into more into the data frames first, and again in SQL. So what we see here first, we have to load some libraries first: struct type, struct field, integer type, string type, and data type. So we get basically structure into our data frame, because usually a data frame in Spark is not type sensitive. So it means you can actually push anything in it. But if you really want to have a schema, a structured schema in your data frame, then you have to take care of it and do it that way. So you tell it with a struct field, we have an ID that has an integer type. And it's false. False means maybe not null. So it's very similar. Also, we do basically in SQL Server. In SQL Server, if I actually create a table, then also have to tell. I can also tell SQL Server actually I want to have. This table that way that it may not be null, so it can't never be null. So it has to be a value there. And the reason for this, it may be for example for an ID for an important field that has to be there. It can't be null. Remember, I told you if I have null, it's not decidable for the SQL Server what kind of value is, because it means basically something like no value, but it's not in terms of if you, for example, if you look for say select from table where column one equals null, then you will not get really something normal, because null is in SQL Server is really a special value that has not. You have to really use where is not null, for example, or where is null. So the words not unequal in SQL Server. So what we have here is also we can take care of this something like this. We will see this right now. If we do this, then we have created it with we create with this write a formal delta. We write this kind of data type here of the table the data frame we created here. We create another table and save as table member details. So what we see here now is member details. We see another table here. So what we have here really is a data file that we this is Parquet file. This is really a Parquet format file that we save here. So now again we want to describe this table. This time I used the extender to see a bit more of this. So what we see here, as I told you, there is a file behind it, and what we see here is really we have to go a bit more here, right, and here what we see is we have really the location of it as a file, and it's called tables member details. So this is the physical address, if you will, for this where this is actually is. So, and also here what we can see is it's a managed type. Today I'm not going to do for external tables which also exist, which you also can do. I'm only going to show you the managed, the normal types. If you want to see the unmanaged, the external tabs, you can actually look at it later, because usually generally what we are going to use in Fabric, or in most cases, managed types. So next. Yeah, ABFS is just someone is wondering what the ABFS in ABFS stands for. That's actually a good question. If you go here, for example, and say load data, you can get Spark. That's what actually I did at first. I'll show you that again later. How it's done. This is basically is what you can do if you want to just do the query. It's load data with Spark. So then you get basically the very first thing I showed you before up. But you also can get. You also can get basically, let me check the path. No, that's what here it is. Here you can see it clear. That's why I have this actually. It's, so we have here files. Also, it's actually not in the lake house, but just files. And here that you can get with right click, copy AVS path. It's just the file system path. The FS stands for Apache. I'm not sure what B stands for. Probably Apache something file system path. You can have a relative path for Spark, and also you can have a API path so you actually can access it from other places. Hope I answered the questions for that. Okay, then let's go to the next. Yeah, I think I haven't done this yet, so it's. Oh, he already did this, but it doesn't matter. It's okay. Then we have just twice. So we have now for the member details, we can use uh, the values again. Like I said, told you before, also values for me basically. For example, we have the possibility to use. We also have the possibility to also all values. So if I actually run it again like this, then we have all this again. But let's choose for Kai. That's me. I really like bread, for example. This would be my favorite meal. So we can see later on that we have a join here. If you have a join, so you have a table, basically two tables you want to join together. So one idea, one major concept in databases is that you want to have things atomized, right? So you want to have as many as a few data in your tables as possible. For example, to have any, if you consider customer relation management database, and you have basically the possibility to add addresses to your members. Then you don't want to have all the address directly to your person, because once he changes or they changed the address, then you have the problem that you have to change the address everywhere you have. So that way, if you have two tables that refers to that, you have to change the address only one place. That's why you would have a joins in first place. So you have really the possibility to have only as few data in tables as possible, because you don't have to change all of them, but just once. So what we have here is we can do with SQL, we can just have a normal join like this. And what we see here, for example, I really like bread. I told you that it is with another here. And here what we also see, we have, for example, Hakim twice, and we have really jollof rice, for example, only once. So we can have it as many times as we want. So what we did here is a left join. That means we have a left table that is basically the master table, we want to say. So and if you join something else, and what we see here is are the nulls. There are no matchings because Jimka, I'm not sure how it is pronounced. I just looked up the most common names in Nigeria, so I hope that I got this right. So it's
You
yeah,
did well. Yeah. So, but I can help with the name pronunciation. It's tricky. So it's Chiamaka. But don't
Chiamaka.
worry, we got it. Oh, wow. You did well. You did good.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
I just looked up what kind of names are common in Nigeria, because I have no idea. So it's
And you
uh,
got our food. You got the jollof rice. Like, that's amazing. Like, it's the food that if you go for any Nigerian party, there will always be that. That's one of the main dishes that will always be there.
okay.
The-
Okay. Thank
so,
you. So it's yeah, we have jollof. As you see, we have basically jollof rice only once before, so we have it now twice because it's basically something that we have twice in the main table, and other information we don't have, but they still are going to be shown as null. So there's no information here, so we also could do it right join. If we would do right join, then we would have basically the opposite. Let's do the right join here. So you will get another it will be different because now we have less information here. We have had less information about for the memory details. We have memory details. We have it twice, so we have it, but we don't have the others. We are missing the others because the others are not in the main table, in the right table. So you can choose on which side the main table is, and classically you use left join, but it doesn't matter actually. So it's just the question where you, so if you use member first or member detail first. So if I would put the member details up here and put it down, then we get actually the right join like before. So it's something that we have here very easily as well. So it's what we also have is inner join. That is actually if we have matches. We just want to have to see the matches. If we don't have information on both sides, is now looks a bit similar like the right join, but it's actually the same as the right join. So it's remember, if you have left join, we have more data, we have the nulls here, but here we have basically only the data, we really have the matches to it. So the question now is, what can we do with Spark? Um, so I promised you I will show you how you can do this with one mouse click here. Let's do this here quickly. I just point my mouse here so we have it here again, load data, Spark. And then it goes up out here like this. We have this exactly like this. And this is basically what we get if we do this. So we have here, this is again, so we have a basically the select 1000, but we have also in SQL Server. So, but let's do that actually together and do that. Okay, I did a test here. I just realized this. I wanted to delete this, so I'm going to delete this. But this is actually what I want to do joins with data frames. So with Spark. So this is of course also possible. We have the possibility to get the left joins. Okay. This was before I just realized, yeah, I deleted it, if, even though it was okay. So we have this here, and we have the select data member details we defined it before, and we have the members ID, and then we constructed actually pretty much the same. So we have in as you can see, it's a bit more work in Python to do this than in SQL, but you can also do it. We can actually also say left and say select members and stuff like this, members age, to select. Like before, we didn't really do this because we have to put in everything. The asterisk is for everything, so it's in Spark here, yeah, that's the last one actually I just created before. So we will be at the end now. Any questions?
Yes, I have, but maybe I'll type it so that it's a bit straightforward. I'm still composing it in my mind, so I'll type it.
Sure. If anyone else has a question, I'm up to get it too. That's could be Fabric, it could be anything else.
Yeah, I have typed my question. I think I've composed it fully now.
So the question is, when I select using the magic command for SQL code cell, can I save it in a variable to be used in a subsequent cell below? Yes and no. What we have here, for example, we have I see. That is actually why I did this first, right? Remember this? We have a data frame that actually gets be done with SQL. This is possible. You can actually mix both. You can also do, for example, joins here. You can do everything. Actually, I showed you with SQL here and do the calculations. So actually, if you really want to use SQL and use data frames, which are a great way to calculate things, which is if you have a lot of data. Also, if you want to display things with Python, for example, there are a lot of libraries in Python to visualize things. So this is a great way. I think that's what you asked, right?
So I think this is the yes part, but you also said no. So I'm guessing the no is if I use the magic, if I use the SQL magic
Yeah,
code, I can't
yeah.
save it.
So if I don't use the SQL magic here, for example, it's used, for example, the last one. Let's do it like this. We have here, just add a new cell here, code, and don't use the magic command. Or actually, by the way, you also can use just this, and then it adds the magic command. But if I don't use this and say I want to have PySpark, then it generates me an error because it's expecting actually a Python message, so a Python command. But if I use Spark SQL here, then it works. So in other words, if you really want to have data frames, you have to work with Python, or you also can use data frames, something like the data frames in Scala. You also can have it something like this, or also has data frames. So you also can use that if you want.
Okay, thanks. Any questions from anyone in the audience?
You also can just put your hand up if you want.
Yeah, so I'll just allow you to unmute if you want. Okay, I see someone's hand is up, so I'm going to make him a presenter. So Sunday, yes, I've given you ability to unmute and speak. Uh, okay. Sunday, can you hear us? You can unmute.
Yes.
Hello, good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon.
Hi.
Uh, I greet everybody this afternoon. Actually, I came late to this lecture, and
Okay.
due to the church activities, I came very late.
Oh, okay.
So, but I can see for the few last minutes, like maybe 3 or 2 minutes ago, I can
Yes.
see some line of code that was written, and actually I've been hearing about Spark, but I've not been able to use Spark before. From the drop down I see Spark Python, Spark
R, Spark
SQL,
Scala.
RFL. Though I'm very versatile in R programming and Python
Oh,
and SQL. So
you
I can see
know,
that
you know, like 3 out of the 4 already.
yes. So I see that it's like integrating Spark to all this programming and this thing. But actually, my question here is, look, I can see that the file that was used here, I think, is members file on a exec community, right?
Yes, like the table that was created is member details within a folder called
Okay.
Excel Analysis Community.
Okay. Did he just create the table, or I thought maybe it's extracted from a members community? So
No, I just made it up basically. It's created the table
okay,
here live. This is
okay. That's when I didn't come online on time, so that's why. Sorry for asking that question. But I can see it's a very I like to know more about Spark, how I can use it very well, because I'm a data analyst, and I really enjoy writing line of code very well.
Oh, awesome.
That's what I really interested in, and I wish I can attend some classes like this, at least learning about new things. And I really appreciate our moderator for today, Mr. K. For the few last minutes, I see what you've done. Though I came very late, but I still appreciate taking your time to come and try to give us some ideas. I think with that, someone can read more and get more knowledge. And I hope you will still come online maybe sometimes to give us some ideas like this. Thank you very much. I really appreciate.
Okay. So maybe
appreciate.
this opportunity for me to get your pronunciation, your name pronunciation. Kai. Did I get it right now? I'm getting
Kai, yes,
good.
but that's
Yeah.
the German way. If you want to call me K, it's the English way. Like a lot of people in the United States
Yeah.
or in the UK do. This is absolutely fine.
Okay. So I think I can squeeze out two questions from what Sunday has said. So because I know what he's saying too applies to more people and those who might even watch the recording. So I want to squeeze out two questions. One is for someone who, like him, he already knows some of these languages. Spark is new to him, and Spark is the bedrock of Fabric anyway. What will be like a good resource or a good way to learn that you can recommend?
That's a great question. Microsoft has actually excellent resource for learning Fabric. It's called. Let me show you. I have to move this a bit. So yeah. So here. So it's called learn.microsoft.com, and everything Microsoft actually pretty much does. You can learn by doing fine technically documentation, showcase your skills. Even you have to here try code samples and do something like this. And you can fabric. Uh, you get to Fabric basically and learn end-to-end tutorials in Microsoft Fabric. So you really can learn everything here. Also start here and you can go to the get started documentation. You have an overview over everything you can learn in Fabric, and you also can do courses for free with Fabric. So we have here. I'm not sure if it's here fabric training or is it this. Let's see. Yes, this is what I meant. Is you have courses to get started with Microsoft Fabric. You have 8 hours. Basically, you can do for free. You really can just sign up with Fabric here and do this for free.
Yeah,
I'll put in
thanks.
the links.
Thanks. So Sunday, I hope you've gotten that. I'm also trying to share with you where you can watch the recording of today so that you can also watch from the start because you said you joined late and we have another session in 1 hour's time too. Luckily, it's also on Fabric and I know the person to speak on Spark, so that's another two in addition to the 1K I shared. So thank you for the question. Do you have any comment before we move back? Oh, great. I can see the wheel of there's a lottery gonna happen soon. Okay. So over back to you, Kai. Let me just hand the control.
If there is another question, I'm open to get another question.
Okay. So this one is it's two questions we ask every person we get. So one is so Kai, it would be nice to hear from you, your journey. I know you've told us that you started with SQL proper, but if you can go further back, have you always been SQL from the start of your career? How has been your career from, maybe even from university or high school till now? It would be nice to see how you got to where you are now.
Um, uh, I actually went to the Federal Institute of Technology in Zurich, but I didn't finish the studies there. So what I did is when I joined the company is just learning by doing. First, I was in marketing, and then in marketing there came the question up if I can program because I did study there for 1.5 years. And so I did program at first, and just databases basically. So actually went from Excel analyst, marketing analyst, did work in Excel, built databases in Excel first, and went to Microsoft Access. From there, I went to SQL Server, and from there I went to specialized data analysis with SSAS, SQL Server analysis services. And in the recent years, well, it's just mainly SQL Server what I've done. Also, as a consultant. Now we are starting to use Fabric actually in my company. So I'm using doing a proof of concept. So it's something what you have to keep in mind if you are in computer science, in data science, something in space. Then you constantly have to learn. You always learn something new. It's something you have to see what else opportunities do I have to improve or to solve a problem. So it's something that I always like to do. And so yeah, this is actually basically it. I also was in Excel first.
Wow. Wow. This is really this is completely different from what sometimes we hear. So for you, the approach has been more of where you work. Maybe I'm guessing to where you have some interest and you're happy to you begin to diversify and you moved from I think you said you started with they needed something data and coding. I don't know what it was you programmed first, and then you said you moved to Excel, you moved to Access, you moved to SQL, then you moved to SSAS, and so it was more like you saw the need within where you worked and you transitioned while you were on the job, and that's really nice to hear, to know. Thanks. Uh, okay. So I think
You're
that's the
welcome.
only other question I had.
Sure. If there are any other questions, then I was happy to answer them. If not, maybe everyone could type in their names, so I can put it in wheel of names for the raffle. I'm having I have the courtesy of the publisher of Pact to give away two books about learning Microsoft Fabric. So if you want to win one of those digital books, then I'm happy to get your names here. So or maybe as a moderator, you maybe have a bit more opportunity, a better means to do than I do it, Michael. If you go to wheel of names, then you can actually draw the names.
Okay, so should I maybe just get the names out from
Yes.
the and
Yeah,
try to
everyone who
post
wants to
to you?
join, please type
Oh,
your name in the chat so I can put it
okay.
in.
Okay. So please type in your name. I've typed mine. uh,
Or if you can give me the names of the attendees here in the chat, I can put in, or you can
okay, so that might be
open the wheel of
faster,
names.
right? Okay, okay. So let me type them all in one place for you to
Okay.
copy.
Okay.
So maybe I'll just type the first names so that it'll be faster.
Yeah, or you can also share your screen and do it with a type of view. This is also possible. Yeah.
Oh,
So
I can. Let me just type and give you.
perhaps
That might
easier.
be
Yeah.
faster.
Yeah,
So I
probably
don't make
faster. Yeah.
any
Yeah.
mistake. Kelvin, Ahmed, Hakim,
Oh.
Jamaica. I'm almost there. Larry. The body. Then something. I think I've gotten everyone. Yes. I can't include. Okay, to look. I can't include you, right? You
No,
can't be
not me.
bad.
Yes. I don't want to be included. I mean, I have the book anyways. So it's,
Okay, great. I think I have everyone now. I hope I have not missed. If I think I've missed you, oh, Sunday, I forgot to include Sunday. Hold on. Let me add one more name that I forgot. And that was the person who asked questions the last time. Okay, I think I've gotten the names in. There's one more name. Hold on, don't press on this. There's one more name, Sunday, after the two look. I think you didn't see my update quick enough. So if you want to add Sunday, like the day of the today's day. Yes, so that's the only other person you're missing.
or everyone now on it, or anyone protesting that their name is not on.
I think everybody is there now.
Okay.
Sorry, let me meet you. Okay, so you can go on. Everybody's on.
Okay. Okay, then let's start. So Samsung one book.
Something, are you there? Otherwise, I'll claim your gift.
Okay, have to write me down this.
Let me just write
I'll
his
just
name. So go on. Yes. Yeah, he has replied that he's here. Okay, so we have
so
the first winner.
so the next one is San.
Um,
So
let's see if he's.
so please share your email addresses with me. You can do it either in this chat, or if you want to do it more privately, you can go to LinkedIn and send me this there, or you can share it with Michael, and he will share it to me. So it's up to you. And I will send the email address to Pact, which is the publisher, and they will come to you and send the book to you. The digital book, so something like a PDF. I'm not sure which format it exactly is, but it's probably a PDF, I would say.
So congratulations, Samson and Zen. So send me your email address and I will forward it straight to Kay. Or if you want, you can also send to
That's
him.
perhaps the easiest, yes.
Okay. 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 Samson says it's even followed you on LinkedIn. So whichever way, as long as you don't forget so that we don't keep Kay like we don't have him sending multiple emails. So if everybody send all at once, then all the better can forward it at once to back. So thank you very, very much. This is very generous of you. And we're very happy to have you. For me, I've learned, I was trying to count all the things I've learned, but I can't remember how many in terms of count, but I can mention what I've learned so far. I've learned that within the Spark environment on Fabric, I can mix up the different languages. So, the way you use SQL and then you use them Python at some other part. And then I know that was not your original intention, but I learned that one. And then the fact that, the differences between the SQL and the Spark. And I like the fact that you said that even when you are doing it, you are expecting more differences, but it's like the differences are not so much, but we should be careful with the tiny hints. And
It's not
there
just
was
tiny. This is any data type basically. It's
any
it's,
data.
uh, it's any data type, and if you do mistakes, it will tell you what happens. It's the same actually in SQL Server. It's something you trust me. If you learn, let's say another database, let's say PostgreSQL or another database, the means you get into quickly. So actually you can also to learn from one database to another
Another.
to get to Fabric, for example, SQL Server. If you do that, that's not a problem.
Yes, yes. Thanks a lot. So, and I don't know if anybody else in the house has any last words or comments. I know you can type in the chat, but from me, on behalf of the entire community, I want to say a very big thank you. Thank you. I think I was in Germany and Zurich 2020, so I think I know how to say thank you. That's Danke. Did I pronounce it correctly?
Bitte.
Danke. Uh, thank you very much. So
You're welcome.
it will be. I know that you like to speak at communities. We will not disturb you this year. Maybe next year we might come back to you and say, if you have something new to share with us, it's been nice
Yes.
to have you again.
Actually, I also have a user group myself,
Oh,
Data
please
TGIF. If anyone wants to speak
join.
in my user group, you are welcome to contact me with either LinkedIn, or you can send me an email to send it here.
Oh, great, great.
So you can contact me. And if you are a first-time speaker, don't worry, I will help you with that. You will also get prioritized. So that means I will get you earlier than other people usually will get, because it's very important for me that we have new speaker in our field.
Oh, wow, that's really kind. Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm going to draw the session to a close now, but thank you very, very much, Kaya. It's been wonderful, and have a
Welcome.
wonderful Sunday and week ahead. Bye. Thank you.
Bye bye.